MetaMask Extension session. I think this is kind of like an experiment. We want to try out more and more things. We want to bring also like the builders inside and outside the team of what's happening and what were we shipping and what we shipped in the past month. We are doing this in sync with all these MetaMask like developer community calls, and I think this time super excited to welcome Hester and Forrest to this call. We will actually deep dive on different kind of like new features being added in extension and more. But quick round of intro. I don't want to spoil your intro first. Esther, you want to start?
Yeah, thanks, Francisco. Yeah, it's great to join. I love the experimentation. I hope we can introduce more builders in the coming months. There's an awesome group of people building at MetaMask, so I hope you get to meet all of them. Yeah, my name's Hester. I am a product manager at MetaMask, and kind of the area of focus for me is wallet UX, trying to bring cohesiveness and structure to all the features that all of our other awesome teams are shipping. In short, but it's usually not the most positive spin, but we try and prevent things from becoming a kitchen sink or a junk drawer, better said. That's what we try and do. Passing to Forrest.
Yeah, thanks, Hester. I'm Forrest. I'm also on the product team here at MetaMask. I focused on our transactions team as well as our swaps team, working on ways for users to seamlessly transfer and transform value safely and easily. Yeah, excited to chat with you all today about some of the new updates we've had in 12.6.
Nice. That's super exciting. I still need to ask you how you guys are kind of like handling, product feature prioritization, because I think everybody's bombarding you guys with like, I want to have this, I want to have this, and I want to have it now, right? So I think that's always like a big things that are happening. Okay, so what are we talking about today, right? So as kind of like Forrest mentioned, is that this we kind of like ship different like new less features on the version 12.6. And obviously this is regarding the extension. So everybody is using this extension under Chrome. This is what we were talking about. There are kind of like three themes about what we're talking about on more with MetaMask kind of like public campaign. One is like more powerful, so empowering kind of users to do more and have more like data points. We're gonna have this kind of like more configurable situation, meaning like you can actually have ads on, like adding more and configure more. I think also part of the narrative. I don't know if you ever tested like MetaMask Snaps, but you should definitely check it out. I think definitely you can configure your journey around Web3, and then third is all about kind of more secure, right? So security in terms of like safety, but also like exploring more and more possibility around Web3. So let's actually like get it started. So I will have some warm-up question here, but just tell me a little bit more about this kind of like more powerful, more configurable, and more secure, and how this is aligning to our MetaMask vision.
Yeah, I can jump in first maybe, and then pass to you, Forrest. So speaking on the side of wallet UX, right? We consider wallet UX as something that grows with you. So smooth user experience. Obviously, we want things to be easy to use. We're fortunately getting a lot of feedback on how we can improve in that area. So that's very clear. We do have a lot of work to do there. Smooth experience isn't everything when it comes to user experience. We're also thinking of your long-term user experience, your security in the future, your ability to use any networks that are up and coming that might not neatly fall into your current user experience. We consider your privacy long-term and basically kind of make it somewhat harder for you to dox yourself. So thinking about UX in that kind of broader perspective, that puts configurability at the heart of one of the features that we released, where we allow you to kind of add and switch between different RPC URLs, RPC nodes to actually interact with the blockchain from your wallet. The kind of the interesting thing that giving more flexibility introduces is that it comes with a little bit of risk, right? Like someone can share you network details in a Telegram group and it sounds awesome. And you're like, oh, this is the next new thing. I want to try that out. I want to get into that. But then at the same time, we want to make sure you can do so in a somewhat controlled and a secure manner. And the way we do that is by allowing you to set chain permissions So talking about networks, I'm kind of using that interchangeably with chains, allowing you control over what network a particular dApp has access to. So when I be connecting to our portfolio wallet or Uniswap or PancakeSwap or what's another one, like a Boomer chain.
Yes.
Not sure what other what the new chains out there are. Go chain. All of them. If you want to connect with them, you might not want to give them access to all your accounts. You might not want to give the relevant dApps access to all of your networks. Right, so giving you that flexibility to play around, but in a safe and secure way. So I see that as kind of the core of our new feature.
Yes.
Yeah, totally echoing a little bit of what Hester said. We think all three of the themes with this more MetaMask campaign are like pretty important. We focus a lot with more powerful and more secure, giving users like a better user experience and like unblocking certain actions in Web3 is really important. And when we think about expanding adoption of Web3, there's a lot of new complexities that like folks that are new to Web3 don't need to deal with, or that are preventing them from expanding their Web3 journey. We try to abstract away those to the extent that we can, safely, obviously.
Yes.
And so with features like smart transactions, we make things more secure, so you don't have to understand like the full scope of things that happen in a transaction lifecycle in order to stay protected in Web3. And things like our new gas station, we're abstracting away things like gas and network fees to make it easier and easier for folks to transact. So yeah, a lot of new improvements in this area. Expanding usability and making it easier to adopt Web3.
That's so cool. I definitely resonate a lot on the more configurable side. Obviously, I'm dealing like always with like builders and developers in the space, and I think also like having both customized journey for your kind of like ecosystem, building the apps and leveraging like kind of all the MetaMask developer tooling. But I think like having modular and configurables add-ons, or in general like having like multiple way to reach like the same kind of goal, I think, and having a customized journey is super important. But actually, like Forrest, you jump a little bit already into like the features, right? I just want to mention, right, today the most important, like what we want to talk about is MetaMask gas station, and Esther with you like the chain permissions, right? Like maybe I know that like I don't want to pressure you guys if you want to screen share, but give us like what's the process like on the MetaMask gas station. What is that about, just for kind of like the common like mortals that are hearing that and they never heard about that and they want to see what is this kind of like update in the version 12.6, and same with like the chain permissions. Do we want to start with you, Forrest, on the MetaMask gas station?
Sure. Yeah. So just to preface this a bit, we've noticed, over the last several years that insufficient gas is a huge blocker for folks that are trying to transact.
It is.
Folks either run out of ETH after transacting a lot, or they're a new user. They don't have ETH in their wallet. You can't proceed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure many folks on this call have probably experienced that. I know I have. And so we wanted to make this like a very easy and like universal approach to let users proceed regardless of the ETH balance in their wallet. If you have a sufficient value to swap, that should be enough. And we wanted to figure out like a very wide approach that we could take that maintained all the same value props that we had for swaps today, while also just expanding this usability and unblocking users. And so I can share my screen briefly and just show how this shows up in the product. Let's see, hopefully you can see this here. All right, excellent. Yes. So I've navigated to swaps within the MetaMask extension here, and you'll see I have essentially no ETH in my wallet. And so now when I request a quote from USDC to ETH, hopefully all goes well on a live demo here, you'll see that gas is now included on this line here for gas fees. Now, previously users would get an error in this case, and it would say, insufficient gas, you need however much more ETH to complete the swap. With this update powered by the MetaMask gas station, we've seamlessly included this in the quote, and you'll be able to proceed with this swap without having to top up your ETH balance, go through an onboarding process, go to a centralized exchange and transfer ETH to your MetaMask wallet. And so it really just makes the user experience like far easier when it comes to MetaMask swaps, and specifically this insufficient gas error that we've seen for a long time. Gas fluctuates obviously, but this has been as high as like a third of swaps quotes in the past that are where folks are experiencing this kind of issue. And so this has been like a really big improvement for us to unblock users and just make it way easier to overcome this blocker that we've seen.
Yeah. I see always big debate around, sponsor transaction, gasless transaction, but I think this is also like very straightforward, kind of like improvement, also like around user experience, especially like people coming into Web3 and they don't kind of like, they want to kind of be part of like all this kind of like side on the payment gas fees.
Yeah,
What are the
yeah. One of
feedback
the
so far? First, yeah.
Yeah, it's had a really positive reception. I think that one of the things we really wanted to keep in mind
Yep.
with this feature was like consider a user that is just starting out in Web3. Maybe they only have USDC or some other sort of stable coin in their wallet they've received. How can you unblock that user and like let them proceed with Web3 and using other applications without having to go through any additional steps? And so a feature like this would allow them to swap from that stable coin or anything else into ETH right away, get the gas they would need to navigate through other Web3 experiences and just proceed from there. And so your journey can start with MetaMask. You can use swaps to kind of expand whatever tokens or assets you have in your wallet, and then proceed from there. So regardless of what you're doing in Web3, that first step
Nice.
should be really easy and seamlessly unblocked with MetaMask here.
That's so cool. Question, is the payment on the gas, I mean, is it like a plan on futures like to have this dependent like to other chains too? Like that basically like the gas fee transfer, or like what was the plan there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the gas station is powered by smart transactions under the hood, which is one of our other recent updates that we've had for security
Mhm.
and privacy on MetaMask. And so that's currently limited to Ethereum mainnet, but we're actively working to expand that to other chains, and that will include support for the MetaMask gas station there as well. So this first release is really just kind of a pilot almost within the extension and
Nice.
specifically within MetaMask swaps, but yeah, in addition to the chain support, we want to expand this to other MetaMask experiences and eventually to all transactions so that, regardless of what you're using, you'll be unblocked from proceeding with your transactions if you don't have enough gas.
Nice. That's super exciting. Yeah, especially the full kind of package, right? So that you really like care about doing the swap and and not going through like the pain sometimes not enough ETH or something. That's super cool.
Totally.
Oh, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So what uh any kind of like future like expansion on this feature?
Yeah,
Or
totally.
what's planned there?
Yeah, yeah. So putting aside the other networks, we've looked at this for not only for swaps, but for like the send flow that we have. So if you want to send
Yep.
tokens to someone else, you should be able to do that without having ETH in your wallet. If you want to bridge, we already have a feature that allows you to kind of like top up your native token balance on that destination chain. And
Yep.
so using the gas station, you'll also be able to proceed without a native token on the source chain. So you could think of like seamlessly moving between chains without having a native token on either and still being unblocked. So I think
Nice.
that's a really exciting development that we're planning here. Um, and then yeah, again, just like expanding this to all transactions. If you're using a DApp,
Mhm.
letting users
Mhm.
choose a different token to use as as like your gas token essentially. Even if you don't have ETH in your wallet, letting you proceed with DApp transactions, choosing USDC, Tether, any other token that we support in order to proceed with that transaction. So that's what I'm really excited about because I feel it unblocks like a
Nice.
really, really wide number of users, even outside of the context of the MetaMask wallet. So
Yeah, I think there are so many also like different use case on kind of like this transaction side. I'm definitely looking forward to see also like even like portfolio mobile
yeah,
like kind of like add-ons and in general like especially like for the builder side, because if you're actually adding those specific feature for your ecosystem of users is very very powerful. Like I'm not sure if they are already included on the SDK side for builders that are listening, but this is like super interesting. And then welcome back,
yeah, yeah.
Lester. Like I was wondering,
Yeah, sorry about
we
that.
were wondering. No, 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 all good, all good, all good. Do we want to quickly go through like the chain kind of like permission screen share, or you want to kind of like drive through like how, what is kind of like this update all about?
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, screen share usually is the best way to illustrate, right?
Nice.
So yeah, chain permissions. Just as a bit of a precursor, thinking of connecting to a DApp on different networks. In terms of a journey, right? Like you typically figure out, hey, what is a DApp that I trust that I would want to interact with? You start engaging with that DApp, and at some point in time, you start using that dApp and actually signing confirmations on it. For different parts of that flow, we have different kind of security measures in place, ways to keep you safe. One is like to make sure you have a source of what are the dApps that you might find trustworthy. So that is something that you can find on portfolio.metamask.io. But basically, that's one first step that you take when interacting with a dApp. Next, you probably navigate to that app. We have a phishing list detection implemented on both mobile and extension, so that when you potentially connect to a app that is malicious, has been flagged by others as malicious, will show you big red recognizable screen that says you might actually not want to go here. So that's another kind of mitigation. And then ultimately, when you sign a confirmation request, we try and show you as much information to help you decide in a comprehensive way if you actually want to sign a transaction that's proposed by that app. Step in between is what we focus on with chain permissions, where we already gave you the option to select what accounts you want to connect with to a dApp, where in case of some wallets, you simply connect. It's very smooth. You connect to an account that you've selected in your wallet. We've always had a step in between to let you like explicitly connect an account or multiple accounts to a dApp. And what we're adding to that is like explicitly stating these are the networks that I'm okay with that dApp using. Now, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time thinking about networks or worrying about what network to select. Basically, we set some smart defaults for you, but you get that configurability, and you'll be able to add it in. With the whole point being that on the one hand, we don't want to constantly ask for your permission or like, yeah, put modals in your face where you have to confirm whether or not you want a dApp to use a network, switch to a network. At the same time, we want to maintain the security and provide you with the security to have control over what networks dApp can use. So it's a bit of a balancing act that we landed on. Let me just see if I've set this up well to show you here. Just for some reason not connecting.
I remember the dApps boxes are always growing super fast. Like the ecosystem is growing. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just try. Oops. I got some. I'm gonna disable some of my experimental wallets here.
Always important for everybody listening, like to kind of deactivate if you're using Flask with main MetaMask. It's always like a good idea.
Yeah, it tends to take over. So just try refresh. Try that again. There we go. So what you'll see is what we had in the past was a single connection step when you're connecting to a dApp, where you'd be able to select one or multiple accounts. So you did have that level of control and the ability to also create a new account if you wanted to set up some sort of burner account, right? If it's a new dApp, you haven't used it, and you're not really sure if you want to share your active account address with that app, you create a new account. So that's something that we already had in the past. This bit is what we're adding, where you can see by default, you don't really have to do anything. By default, the networks that you have in your wallet are checked. Those are your enabled wallets. And when you're connecting to a dApp, you're basically giving that dApp permission to also send you confirmation requests on that particular network. However, if you're not entirely sure about using a particular dApp, and you're like, oh, well, Ethereum mainnet is that's where my precious funds are, or Linea or Base, and you're like, well, okay, I might have some dust on op mainnet. So I'm fine interacting with the dApp on op mainnet, but I really want to avoid getting. Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm not sure if you're. Are you sharing the full extension?
Ooh,
I think I'm only seeing like the toggling.
Okay, hold on. Let me
just see the
stop
toggling.
sharing and share again.
Try that.
You see
Yeah,
the
you might want to
toggle.
share. Yeah, sometimes it's happening when you're like screen sharing the window specifically.
There we go. Is that better? Let's see. Let's try that.
Let's see. Yes, we
Are you
can see
seeing the
it
window?
perfectly
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
Yes,
okay. Awesome.
perfect.
Awesome.
I was
So
wondering,
nicely
that's
set
why.
up.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I'll give the TLDR, right? Account selection, selecting one, multiple accounts, creating a new account. We already had that flexibility. Um, Judging what network you want to use with a given dApp. So what I was saying was basically I might not want to use Ethereum mainnet with this dApp base, but I have some dust on Optimism, and I'm fine using using Optimism with this new dApp that I haven't used in the past. Then I'd go in and basically deselect all other networks. So by default, your enabled networks are enabled, and you'd be able to get requests to sign a confirmation for all of those networks. So it's the same single step to connect to a dApp. But if you wanted to, you get a little bit more control to prevent any confirmation requests in the future that might be a little fishy, to kind of reduce your risk level there. So in this case, I'm just going to keep everything as is and connect. And that's pretty much it. There's obviously ways to go in and update.
Is it only me? Or you got? I think you froze a little bit for. Oh, there you are. Anyway, yeah, so that was not me. But that's super useful. I think also like pushing the kind of like the chain permission side. It's also like useful for not any users, but also like builders playing around different one. Oh, Esther, you're back.
Yes.
What maybe just a quick question, like what kind of like inspired you like all this kind of development on the chain permission side, but most important, like how, I mean, how this is kind of clear, right? But this enhance definitely like this configurability and the composability on the tech stack. But what is inspired all this?
Right. So, I mean, longer story is ultimately we want to provide flexibility for the ecosystem as well, right? We're talking very much about like end user features in the wallet, but growing the ecosystem by allowing new networks to appear, new dApps to connect to our wallet without kind of necessarily having to, yeah, having to select custom libraries. We've always maintained the MetaMask API, and we'll start to offer more permissions, including network permissions, through that MetaMask API that we refer to as internally, at least, as the multi-chain API. And kind of what's in the name is that we'd allow dApps to say signal to the wallet. These are all the networks that I want to be able to interact with, because these are the networks that I support as a dApp. And that ultimately would make for a more smooth overall experience, not just within the wallet, but also in the dApp wallet interfacing, because the dApp can clearly signal, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I need from the user. And that steps beyond what we have as an ecosystem in terms of our current standards. So it's pretty much a stepping stone for us to get to that multi-chain API, where the dApp will be able to express what it needs.
Nice, nice. And just to like that, I got this question last week in DEF CON, but is the chain, let's say, extension like basically all the chains supported on Infura today, or people can point to any RPC endpoints and push any kind of like chain support there?
Yeah, so there's the flexibility to add any RPC URL. Yeah, enabled by default is what's provided via Infura. But yeah,
Yes.
there's the flexibility to add any RPC URL.
Nice. And on the privacy side, like, can you elaborate a little bit more, like, I mean, it's super interesting because obviously we speak always about extension, but I think there is all this kind of like security and privacy side that I think it's super important too.
Right. So yeah, there's a little bit of a privacy angle to network selection and configurability there, that we would want you to have control to kind of make your own judgment on how trustworthy a dApp is to you, and what information you would want to give them access to. In this case, we're talking about networks. In the future, that could be other types of permissions, data sets. So there is a permission or a privacy angle to that. I think the broader story around how we deal with privacy is giving you a great out of the box experience, but at all times allow you to switch off something that we call basic functionality, where you get your full configurability back. We don't
Right.
call any consensus servers. Basically, you use the wallet as yours on your own infrastructure. So maintaining that flexibility is kind of the
Yeah.
path for people who currently knowingly care a lot about privacy. At the same time, we do want to cater to users that don't necessarily have that awareness or need now, or make a different personal trade-off. We do have pretty strict privacy measures on our infrastructure and routing layers. When you use any consensus server, so that's the kind of the next kind of default layer where we protect privacy. Ultimately, it comes down more to consent and control, giving you that flexibility so you can make your own judgment out of the box privacy, but it's a gradual scale, and you'll always be able to configure not using
Yeah.
certain services on your own as you judge for yourself.
Yeah, I super appreciate also like kind of this transparency in the process, right? I think like we always being advocate on kind of every user's as is customized journey around kind of like Web3 tooling, and I think giving also this accessibility, but also ensuring like the security and the transparency around this is super important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me then ask now a question back to Forrest on gas station. But I mean, you kind of touched a little bit, how we're improving the user experience, how we're like pushing this update, and I think there is much less friction around kind of the swapping. But I mean, what else kind of like user can benefit out of this?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, with the gas station, this isn't like the first or the only like gas included swaps feature out there. There's plenty of other platforms that have gasless capabilities today. However, we do think that this is the most universal and the most seamless one. Um, we wanted to make sure that users didn't have to pay for gas for approvals, and so if you don't have a native token balance, you can
Mhm.
continue transacting regardless. Outside of the permit 2 standard today, that's currently not really possible for like a fresh swap transaction when you haven't transacted with that token before. But with swaps, you're able to do that seamlessly. And so a token swap involving approval and a swap is still a single click with MetaMask swaps leveraging gas station, regardless of your native token balance. And so that's one of the
Nice.
big areas where we're removing friction from this. If we think about gasless as like this full user experience, and we think this is like probably the most seamless and universal approach out there today. Let's see, the other area where this is like reducing friction. We support a wide number of tokens, USDC, USDT. There's the full list on our help article regarding this. That's something we want to continue expanding. But we're letting users continue to search across like a very wide variety of liquidity providers, looking for prices across aggregators and private market makers and everyone else, while still maintaining this user experience benefit, not requiring a native token balance. And so rather than having to search for prices individually across different aggregators or liquidity sources, you can do all of that in a single step with MetaMask, regardless of that native token balance. And so it's kind of like reducing that search cost and that friction associated with like onboarding a new token. So
Love the team highlighting this. Thank you for the efforts, hidden heroes. Yeah, it's really like I think I don't know how you kind of like handling all the time like all the like let's say feature prioritization. I think you get bombarded a lot from the community, and I think in the same time it's always like difficult to have like inside, okay, those are the features that are necessary also. And I think this kind of like update and adding like both gas station and the chain permission is definitely enhancing both the usability, but also like kind of like the sensibility of what any user can build. I don't know like if I can answer this for us, but let me get spicy. Is like swapping fee? Are we kind of like what is the swapping kind of like fee system now with this gasless transaction? How we are handling those fees? That I remember like there were some question around DEFCON on that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's a good question. And so I just want to highlight that, anytime there's a state change on Ethereum, there's going to be some gas paid. And so that's the reality of even like other types of gasless solutions today. Gas is always included. Maybe there's a market maker on the other side, but they're still factoring in gas fees to that overall transaction. And so this is really no different than that. Gas fees are still getting ultimately paid by the user still. It's just seamlessly factored into the quote. We're able to just send the user ETH and then compensate for that value with the gas or with the MetaMask swaps fee that we're taking from that transaction. And so it's super seamless and very easy, but ultimately, there is still that fee of gas. It's just included in the quote now instead of being a separate line item, and it can be paid with any token where we accept the fee. So that's kind of how it works under the hood. But yeah, just gas is still being
also
paid.
like and also like one recommendation. I mean, the gas fee are not like lower itself, but I mean people, especially like new people come in the space, also check out like we have different layer tools. Obviously, big fan of like Linea, and also like a good way is always to use this kind of like zkVM or rollups, so that your transaction costs also like are much cheaper when you're on this layer 2. And
exactly.
but yeah, much more like you can definitely research much more on that, and I think definitely like also on the chain kind of like permissions. I think it's super interesting to see because people have also the flexibility to go from one chain and kind of like go to the other. Cool. So what's happening next, right? I think we are almost on time here. Can you kind of like give us a little bit like on the respective kind of like updates? What are we expecting next in terms of like accessibility, or even like how the community can kind of like give feedback on this if we want to kind of optimize further?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can speak for the gas station. It is. We want to expand this to mobile. I think that's probably the next thing that's coming up soon. We've seen this be. We've seen a lot of usage so far in the extension, and so expanding this to our other platforms where swaps are supported is going to be like the immediate term focus. And then from there, supporting other experiences within the MetaMask wallet, and finally having the choose your gas token feature for all types of transactions. So that's a bit on our short-term roadmap, but yeah, be looking for these things to roll out just after the new year, starting with mobile.
Nice. I love hearing mobile improvements.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely excited.
Yeah, I can speak to some UX improvements which are definitely targeting mobile. One of the things that we're looking at, if you don't mind me screen sharing one more to give a little bit of alpha while we're on this call. Might as well demonstrate it, right? So one thing that we're adding is the ability for you to see cross-chain balances and cross-chain network list cross-chain asset list. So what you see here is me selecting all networks rather than my current network being Optimism. So thereby seeing my asset list for all networks, token detection across those networks, and my balance across those networks. So that's one of the things that people can look out for in the coming weeks. Let me go back here. So that's definitely one in terms of UX improvement. So you won't have to like switch between networks to try and understand what your overall balance will look like. So getting a little bit more of that portfolio type experience of your overall assets, your overall holdings, what's that looking like? Other improvements that we're looking at is particularly in the area of account experiences. How do you select what account you want to use either when sending a transaction or when connecting to a dApp? What's the account that you've used in the past with a dApp? What's the account that holds particular tokens? We've understood that especially some what we call power users, people who definitely use extension a lot with a lot of different accounts, tons of assets, a lot of different dApps in use, that at some point it becomes so hard to track what accounts you've used for what, right? And that's great. Stealth accounts especially are great. But yeah, at some point you also want to recognize what's that account that I used 2 years ago to get an airdrop now.
Yes.
And helping users find those accounts is something that we're
Yeah.
focused on.
I see the Solana Snap being used a lot just for, EVM airdrops. That's super interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually see a good question for you, kind of like on like there is a slightly higher amount of gas used when using the gas station, but still more
Yeah,
efficient than onboarding using a centralized exchange. Is this
that's
correct,
right.
or you want to add something?
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. We always default to the most efficient possible route for the user. And so if you do have a native token balance in your wallet, that's what you'll be shown in the swaps interface. This is intended, at least for now, as more of like a recovery step or like an unblocking feature for users. So if you don't have enough ETH, this is like the next most efficient, valid option for you. Obviously, you could like onboard and then send funds to your MetaMask wallet and proceed that way. And that's certainly one way of going about it. But because there are these additional transactions involved with us sending you ETH as like a part of this transaction bundle, there's a slightly higher cost of gas there. It's not much, and like we've done a lot of comparisons with other gas included swaps features, and it stacks up well against them. But yes, there is always going to be like a slightly higher amount of gas used in these circumstances. But again, saves you a lot of time and generally a lot of fees associated with going down other routes.
Nice, nice. I don't know, Esther, if you can answer this, but will the overall look be updated? I don't know, like, what is the time for alphas, or what are we expecting there on the? I will be more interested on the functionality side rather than look, but I think you can speak on both.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is always a bit of both, right? There's no point in updating the look if we're not improving the UX in terms of functionality. But yes, the overall look, we have an amazing team of designers. And yeah, I don't say that lightly. I think they're pretty unique in the industry. They focus on both, right? Like they just to give some context on design. They focus on both the user experience, functionally getting the flows right, but they're also paying a lot of attention to how can we update the UI overall, give it a bit more of a modern look, right? Extension especially has been around for 7-8 years. What is it? So yeah, the look will get an
Nice.
update as
That's
well.
super exciting. Yeah, I think also like coming and considering like if Denver next, we will come up also with a lot of like cool things. Awesome, and also appreciate there is a comment from Chocolate balance detection that you kind of like mentioned that actually like super cool that you addressed that, or you want to talk a little bit more about balance detection.
Yeah, I mean, essentially token detection. So auto
Yep.
token detection. We've had token detection for a long time. We've always been, and again, this is us making trade-offs on security. At the same time, we've always been cautious in simply showing you all tokens that we find, because some might actually be spam tokens. So we've always taken a little bit of a conservative approach there. We've now been able to kind of find a way to have more confidence in the tokens we detect in order to show them to you and give you an easier path to hide the ones that you wouldn't want to see going forward. So by managing that better and having a little bit more confidence, we're making improvements in token detection.
Nice.
So you won't have the feeling that your money is gone.
No, that sounds good. And yeah, I think I mean, and also like a lot of people are using MetaMask portfolio for also like, adding new adding different chains and balances on different chain. I think this is also super useful. I'm using it like all the time and discovering sometimes random balances. So that's super cool. So yeah, thanks so much also for answering this question, and keep them coming. We definitely like want to have also like different questions, but I think again, those are a lot of questions. I'm definitely looking forward for more. But I think we're almost on time. One things that I mentioned before, how you guys are like prioritizing like roadmap specific like or community asks, right? Is there like a specific process, or even like what is the process if someone kind of like in the community want to kind of like hey, can you guys prioritize this functionality. So how they're reaching out, how people can actually contribute to that today.
I can jump in, and maybe Forrest, you can add
Mhm.
to what I'm saying. I would that in all transparency, I think the most effective path at this time is still create a GitHub issue. That's where we spend most of our time day to day. So if you're finding any issues, if you have any requests, create a GitHub issue is probably the most efficient path. There is also Discord to reach out to the community team. So there are other avenues. If you have a very specific proposal or ask or bug report, GitHub is the best path, as far as I can tell. When it comes to kind of prioritizing issues, I'm really looking forward to having more of our team on these calls as well. The kind of path towards a more not more mature, but a multi-chain application as a mature application, the way MetaMask is, that has evolved over years, assuming there's a single chain, the whole world, Ethereum revolves around a single chain. That transition is something that we've been prioritizing to make sure that we can unlock a lot of other kind of experiences across chains. So when it comes to prioritization, a lot of it also being requested. Yeah, you
Yeah, for sure.
to reduce.
Yeah. I think that the forums that you highlighted, whether that's GitHub or Discord or X, wherever, all valid routes to go about this. We certainly appreciate and value all the feedback we get from the community, and it certainly plays into how we think about like prioritization and like developing products overall. One thing that we obviously need to do, there's a ton of asks that come in, and so when we do receive these types of feedback or requests, personally, like I always dig into our data and whatever we have available to us to try to understand like, how widespread an issue might be, how many folks are running into an issue, or how many folks are requesting something, for example, and then how can we make this, how can we solve these things for like the most number of people? So like, what's the user pain associated with this? Like, how much is this impacting their workflows, and how many folks are actually experiencing this?
Yeah.
And using those factors, we can help to decide when something needs to get tackled, but. Again, we really appreciate all the feedback we get from the community, and it certainly plays into our overall roadmap and prioritization efforts.
Nice. Yeah, I think also
Yeah, I
like
think we
those
can.
channels. Sorry, go for it.
No, I wanted to say it sounds a little creepy, but we're always listening. We see most of the feedback that is posted on Twitter, on Discord, on GitHub, across all the channels. Yeah, we definitely keep an eye on all the feedback. It's a
Yeah.
matter of like how do we get to the work, and how does it stack up to the kind of the underlying user need? What are we trying to solve, and how do we get there for most users?
Yeah, I definitely love like also the way that all the team is kind of like cohesive and working together is very accessible also from the community perspective. We're trying to be also like very hands-on to like ecosystem events. Like we're just coming from DEF CON. I hope you are getting good rest, Esther, because that's what we were talking before. But I mean, these calls, for example, like we're not just running this MetaMask developer community call every month, but this kind of like what's happening, what we shipped. I think this is the goal also to see engagement in the comments. Feel free always to ask questions, even if you don't understand these features. We are more than happy to walk through like a much higher context. And these calls are for everyone, right? So if you're kind of like starting your kind of customized journey, your MetaMask is always being the door to everything Web3, right? And customization, having your kind of like journey much more fine-tuned to your needs. I think we're definitely like keen a lot on that. Cool. I think we're almost on time. Any kind of closing word, Hester or Forrest, you want to give before we're calling the space?
Keep sending your feedback. I think we shared two features, especially that are just coming out. So yeah, when those features roll out, we always keep like an extra eye out, right, to see how they're
Yeah.
received, if there's any bugs, if people are running into issues. So if you're running into anything, raise it again, Twitter, Discord, anywhere. That'll help us improve, especially as things roll out.
Yeah, same for the gas station as well. Anything you'd like to see next, please let us know. Yeah, we described a bit of our plans for expansion of this feature. So yeah, any other areas you feel would be helpful, just please let us know.
Nice, nice, awesome. Yeah, and if you're also a builder in the space, make sure also you reach out. We don't just have amazing like DevRels, but I think also like around the ecosystem we're very like accessible. And I think as Esther you touched on like GitHub issues and opening PRs and connecting with the team with all our channel. We have Discord, discourse, proposals. It's also a good way to not just connect IRL but also like virtually. Awesome. Forrest, Esther, thank you so much, and looking forward to do more of those sessions. I think like when next version is coming out, so that I kind of expect when we should do this call next. No
I
thoughts
am
yet.
just checking our rollout schedule.
I like it.
Yeah, there should be something in rollout now, and then the next will
Nice,
start on December 10th.
nice. Sounds good. So probably we're able to englobe this in our MetaMask community call end of December.
Cool. Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. So thanks so much, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and most important, thanks so much for all the team that is all the kind of like in the back door, like answering the questions, coordinating all the pushing on socials, and make sure that we are answering all your questions online and offline.